Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Katarina. Today's video is going to be a tag video. I'm really excited about this. This is the Blusher Blushed Let's Get Cheeky tag that is created by Elle S. I am sure you already know who Elle is, and I will of course link her and her original tag video down below. But I must say before getting into the tag that I have recently been really loving Elle's content. I think Elle is a great person to watch if you are into content that is not just about new releases. She does a lot of different type of videos, and I think she's a great low buy or no buy inspiration. And I will also say that I really do love her makeup looks. She does a lot of more creative, almost like artistic looks that I could never pull off, but they look so great on her. I really do enjoy her content, so I will link her down below, so remember to check out her original tag video. So yeah, this is a tag about blush and it has 18 questions, so it's going to be a long one, so let's just get into it. Question or prompt number 1, tell us a little about your history with blush. To be completely honest, I don't remember if I used blush when I very first started experimenting with makeup when I was a pre-teen. I don't remember if I wore blush back then, but what I do remember is that when I was about 15, I started wearing makeup pretty much every day, and especially every time that I went out to hang out with friends. I used to wear quite a bit of makeup, but back then I didn't wear blush. And we are now talking about like 2007, I was 15, 10. So during that time it was really all about the bronzed skin. In my early 20s, I remember having just a couple of blushes in my collection. So I had one like peachy blush, that was my favorite. I thought that's the most flattering on me. But I will say during that time in my early 20s, I did wear way less makeup than today. It wasn't until I found YouTube that I started wearing eyeshadow, for example, and it was in 2015 that I really got into makeup. So I started watching beauty YouTube, I started writing my beauty blog, and as so many of us who found makeup during that time, I started collecting makeup and I went a little crazy. I started collecting blush too, and I bought a lot of blush palettes. I bought a lot of individual blushes without really thinking if I liked the colors. Then in 2018 I found Project Panning, and no buys and low buys were starting to get a little bit more popular back then, mainly thanks to Hannah Louise Poston, and I realized that I do have a problem when it comes to buying makeup. I was spending so much time to makeup, I was spending all of my extra money to makeup, and I was extremely overwhelmed with my collection. So 2019 I did my no buy year, and of course during that time I didn't buy any blush. But I will say that in 2019 I tried to do a Pantat face palette with a blush palette. And if you have been around for that long, you maybe remember that all of my updates to that project were kinda negative, and I learned from that experience that I really do not enjoy panning blushes. I do get bored way too easily if I need to wear the same blush every single day, even though I typically go for neutral blushes and really safe blushes. Blush is for me something that I kind of like to match it to my makeup, and I just don't want to be wearing the same blush every day with every single makeup look. And now in 2020 I have tried to be a little bit smarter when it comes to purchasing new makeup, and I will say it hasn't been as bad as it was before my no buy year. But I will say that blush is something where I have bought more what I really want to be buying. Some of the products I have bought this year I have ended up loving, but some of the products for one reason or another I regretted purchasing, and I have decluttered already from my collection. In fact, I did in November a declutter where I decluttered 5 of my blushes. And I can honestly say that right now I am left with a blush collection where I do love everything. So this is what my current blush collection looks like. So I really do not have much blushes. I mean, you cannot really call this a minimal blush collection, I don't think, but it is really curated. I truly only have blushes that I love. I do have a couple of blush palettes, and then I do have some individual blushes, and yeah, it's way smaller, my collection, what it used to be, and I truly love everything, and I want to keep it like that. Let's move on, because this video is going to take forever. Question or prompt number 2, thoughts on the cream versus powder debate. I do prefer powder blushes, but I do also appreciate cream blushes, but powder is what I usually do wear. I remember in 2015, when I really got into makeup, I purchased the Balm How About Them Apples palette, and I really loved it. However, it got kind of bad after a couple of years. I don't remember exactly if it was in 2017 or 2018 when it started to be really gross, but then I decided to declutter it. After that, I didn't have any cream blushes for quite a while, and I just used my powder blushes and I was happy. But this year I have bought this Elle cream blush palette, and I will say I really do enjoy this. I really love how the palette has so many different shades, and I think the formula is great, but I will still say most of the times I do wear my powders. I just think they're kind of like a little bit easier to apply. Also, in some areas of my life I am quite routine orientated, and my makeup application is one of those things. And typically I just like to set my face right after doing my foundation and concealer. However, if I want to do cream contour and cream blush, I need to change the order I do my makeup, because I don't want to put creams on top of a powder. So that's another thing why I typically don't use cream products on my face. But I do think that they can look really natural and beautiful on my face. But most of the times I only do them on more like no makeup looks. Another thing is that, as I said, I noticed my Balm blush palette had expired after a couple of years. So that is another reason why I don't want to accumulate too much cream blushes and other cream face products, because I know they won't last as good as long as powder products. Question number 3, what do you prefer, satin, shimmer or a matte finish? I can appreciate all of these finishes, but I will say I don't like matte finish if the formula is really dry, because I feel that can look like dry and chalky on my face. But if it is like a smooth and almost like buttery matte formula, that is something I absolutely do love. Satin is something I love almost always, and I do feel I have blushes that are like, I don't really know if they are satin finish or if they are shimmery finish. They have some shimmer, but it's not like a glitter bomb. And what comes to shimmery blush, I will say that I do love glowy blushes, but there is a line where it is too glowy for me. So this year I bought the Beauty Bakery Blush Lighter palette. I had been wanting the palette for a year and a half, I think, and I finally decided to get it in the really late spring or early summer this year, and I was actually quite disappointed with the formula, because it was so extremely glowy that it almost looked like foiled eyeshadow. It didn't look like blush anymore, and when I would apply it to my cheeks it would emphasize all texture, so I don't like that. Then question number 4, current favorite blush or blushes. As I said, I truly only have blushes that I love left in my collection, so this question can be a little bit hard, but I'm going to mention just a couple of my favorites. First, the Elle Baked Blush in Rich Rose. When I say that I do love glowy blushes that are not too much, this is exactly what I mean. This has the most beautiful glowy finish, and it does have some shimmer in it, so I wouldn't say it's like purely satin, but it is so stunning. So there you can see it, and I absolutely do love this color. It is like this neutral rosy color. Another one that is quite similar finish is the one I'm wearing today. This is the Essence the Blush, and it is in the set Bespoke. It's quite a similar finish to the Elle blush, but this one is just like a warmer, bronzier color, so this is something I typically would wear with warmer toned looks. So there you can see the Essence blush. Then a couple of my matte favorites. This one is hands down the most beautiful packaging I have. It's a blush from 100% Pure. This is their Fruit Pigmented Blush in the shade Pretty Naked, and it is like the most nude matte blush I have ever seen. It's so beautiful, and this is exactly what I mean when I'm talking about like buttery, creamy matte blush formula. I think from all of my blushes this is the one that I could make to work with any makeup look. And I also need to mention this. This is the Benegos Natural Fresh Bronzing Duo. So it is actually like a blush and bronzer duo as the name says. And as you can see, the bronzer is too orange for me, so I actually choose to use this as a blush. Sometimes I may combine the two to get like a beautiful kind of like bronzy toasted color, but sometimes I just wear the bronzer. But yeah, I really do love this. This is something I have been wearing as a blush a lot during this fall. Over there, as you can see, it's way warmer than the 100% Pure blush. And then the next question number 5, least favorite or least used blushes. So if I really need to say least favorite, it must go to the e.l.f. Cream Blush Palette. Not that there's anything wrong with the palette, I really do enjoy this and I think the formula is great, but as I said, I just prefer powder blushes. I do appreciate cream blushes, I think they can look beautiful on my skin, but most of the times I do go for powder. The least used blush in my collection must be one from this another blush palette I have. This is the BH Cosmetics Vanilla Cream Truffle palette. This is a beautiful palette with kind of like pinky neutral shades, but there is this blush over here that is like a berry type of shade. And I will say that this one is something that is a little bit too deep for my preference. I don't mind having it here. If I want to go for a deeper berry blush, I do have the option, but I don't actually know if I have worn this once. This is newer to my collection, the entire palette. I know for a fact that the other shades from the palette I have used, but I don't think I have used this at once, so I will need to make an effort to use this. But as you can see, it is a little bit deeper, and I sometimes feel it's hard for me to pull off blush shades like this. Question number 6, overhyped blushes. There's 2 that I can think of, but I don't have any of these, so I will just show you some pictures of these. So first, a drugstore one, the Milani Rose Powder Blush. I had it in the Romantic Rose shade, and that is the most popular one, and I still hear people raving about that blush. But when I said that I don't like matte blushes that are really dry, that is exactly what I meant. I was so disappointed with the blush when I tried it. It just feels so dry and chalky. When I applied it to my cheek, it made my skin look dry and it would apply patchy, and I was honestly, what is all of the hype about? And another one, I had the Nars Blush in the shade Deep Throat, and Nars blushes of course are really hyped. I think the names of the blushes, they are a little bit controversial, that's probably one reason, but that color did absolutely nothing for me. I mean, I know I do wear blushes that for most people are really boring colors. I can still say that that color was really boring to me. It was kind of like a light, warm, natural pink. I just think there is something in that kind of like natural pink colors. They don't flatter me the way they flatter some other people. I feel when I wear colors like that, I look like someone who is trying to look younger than I am. When I know there are some people whose complexion colors like that really do flatter. I gave the Deep Throat one, by the way, to my sister, and she really loves it, and I think to her complexion it's a really great one. She's a little bit paler than I am, and she has like blue eyes and dark hair. I mean, we look completely different, and actually we do have different fathers, so we're not like full siblings, but you know, to her complexion it's a great shade. Then question number 7, underhyped blushes. I really got to say that all of the blushes that I do have in my collection and that I do love have gotten more or less hype. Maybe I will say these BH Cosmetics Truffle palette still. So I do have the Vanilla Cream Truffle one, but what I'm really impressed with is that they came out with like 10 or something different palettes, so that there truly is one for all complexions. So I'm really impressed with that, but also the formula is amazing. This is exactly what I mean with a smooth and buttery matte blush. All of these are matte, but it's so smooth to the touch and it applies so beautifully to my cheeks. Then question or prompt number 8, oldest blush. So my oldest blush is the Elle Baked Blush in Rich Rose. I got this one in spring 2016, so it's closer to 5 years and it still works amazingly. Then next question number 9, the newest blush, and that is the BH blush palette that I have now shown you for a couple of times. So this one I got August this year. Question number 10, do you prefer individual pans or palettes? I personally for sure prefer individual pans. And not even pans, like I don't buy ever from indie brands like pans that you need to put to a magnetic palette, but I prefer my blushes and my other cheek products like highlighters and bronzers, I prefer them to be singles in compacts. That is just a preference because I feel those are easier for me to reach on everyday basis. And something that I have learned myself is that there is always something in face palettes that I just don't like. And I'm someone who doesn't want to have products that I really dislike in my collection, even if it is like one individual shade in a palette. If I really dislike it, that almost makes me want to depot the thing so that I can get the product that I dislike out of my collection. Let's move on. Question number 11. Most unique blush you own? I got to say I don't own anything that is unique. Question number 12. Do you have any blushes on your wish list? I do have a couple of blushes on my wish list, but not a lot. First, there is one liquid blush that I would like to add to my blush collection, because in the e.l.f. cream blush palette I feel there is one thing lacking from here, and it's like a truly neutral blush. So as you can see, there's like pinky peachy shade, there is a kind of like more neutral peachy shade, there is this that looks the most neutral but it's actually quite berry type of neutral, and then there is one more pinky color. And since I am someone who likes to wear a brown blush, I would really want to have like a neutral cream or liquid blush, and Milani has recently launched new liquid blushes and they do have one that is called Nude Blush. So that's something that is on my wish list. Then there is a couple of higher end blushes on my wish list too. And this I am actually planning on purchasing at some point. So the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in Mood Exposure. I have used up one of these previously, so I know I really do love the color. It is like a neutral, little bit leaning mauve type of color. I absolutely do love that blush. I'm just waiting that Hourglass reformulates this blush vegan, because they are making their entire line vegan. I know they do already have the vegan formula, because the holiday palettes they put out this year were vegan, and there is the Mood Exposure blush. But what comes to the individually packed Mood Exposure blushes, I don't think they're vegan yet, so I'm waiting here, but that is something I will purchase. And then there is another high-end blush that is on my wish list, but I'm kinda on a hence about it because I have heard mixed reviews. So the Cheryl Tilbury Cheek to Cheek blushes. The ones that are on my wish list specifically are the First Love one, so that is like a really neutral, barely tear type of shimmery blush color, and that's actually something that is lacking from my collection. And then the another shade that is on my wish list is the Pillow Talk one, so that is another neutral shade, but it's a little bit more kind of like rosy type of neutral. I think it might remind me quite a bit of the e.l.f. Rich Rose one. It looks like kind of similar shade, so I don't know if I really need that. I think the First Love one is something that I actually don't have in my collection, so I think that's the one I'm going to purchase if I end up buying one of these blushes. But yeah, those are the only blushes that are on my wish list. Sometimes I may see a blush from a brand that I think is interesting and something I get curious about, but then I remember how easily I get overwhelmed, and also my blush preference, which is more neutral, kind of like subtle blushes, and usually after a couple of days wanting something, I kinda forget about it or realize that that's just not my thing. But these that I just mentioned are something that I actually do truly want. Next is question number 13. Are there any discontinued blushes you wish would come back? I don't think they are that blushes that are completely discontinued that I wish would come back, but I will say that something that is no longer for some reason available in Europe but is available in United States is something I wish would be available everywhere where this brand sells. So this is a blush from Essence. This is the Essence Satin Touch blush. I do have the shade Satin Love, which is absolutely beautiful, kind of like pinky neutral blush. For some reason Essence has discontinued this in Europe, but I think in US this is still available. I don't know if it is available in stores, but at least on their US website this one is available. So that's kind of like a weird thing with Essence. I just hope they would make their line so that you can get the same products all around the world, because I really do love this blush formula. It's such a beautiful, truly like a satin finish, and I really do love this color. It is this more pinky sort of neutral shade over there. Really do love it. The question number 14, favorite brushes or tools? I do have 3 favorite blush brushes that I want to talk about. First, if I use cream blush, the Elle small stippling brush. This is one of the Emily Noel made me buy it products, but I will say I think this is a great product for cream blush because you can pick just a little amount and blend it out so easily. Then I do have 2 favorite brushes for powder blushes. So both of these are from Eco Tools. This one has been a favorite of mine for years. This is the Eco Tools Precision Blush Brush. And when I want to apply brush directly on top of the contour to this area, this is the brush I use. Oh my god, I all the times mix brush and blush. Sorry about that. Another favorite of mine from Eco Tools is their Define brush from their Define and Highlight duo. This one is actually a contouring brush, but for me personally I think this is too choppy to be a contouring brush, especially if I want to do more detailed work around my cheekbone. But I do think this is a great blush brush because this one is a little bit more fluffy. It is round but it's not too big. So yeah, with this one it's so easy for me to pick just a little bit of product and build it up and blend it out beautifully. Question number 15. Do you like to wear a little blush or a lot? I definitely like to wear a little blush. I'm not one of those people who can pull off really strong blush looks, and this is probably one reason why I really hate panning blushes, because my progress is so slow. Usually on my makeup looks I want my attention to be on my eyes or on my lips, and I feel if I do have like a strong eye makeup going on or really bold lipstick going on, or sometimes even both, if I apply blush with heavy hand, that can look like a lot. And question number 16 is favorite blush trend or placements. I do like to typically apply the blush like directly on top of my contour if I have contour. Sometimes on my daily basis I typically don't contour, but I just apply a little bit of bronzer. Then I maybe apply the blush a little bit more freely, like to my entire cheek area, but typically because I do have round face I avoid applying product like to the apple of my cheek. However, I think blush placement is such a personal thing and it depends on your face shape what is like the best place to apply the blush to. So if you are kind of unsure what could be the best placement to your blush, I would recommend you to find from YouTube someone with similar face shape and see how they are doing their makeup and where they are applying their blush. I'm typically not someone who really goes into trends when it comes to makeup. I know the things I like and I wear the things I like, and trends are not usually something that I try. But what I find is kind of like weird, I will say, so this is like not a favorite trend, but I wanted to talk about this. So the blush on nose trend, that for me seems like kind of weird. I mean, I think it looks cute on pictures and stuff, but I cannot imagine someone actually going out and having like a lot of blush on their nose. Yeah, that's just like a little bit weird to me, and I do think this is one of those trends that in a couple of years we are going to look back and think, what the heck were we thinking when we made our nose pink with blush? Question number 17, thoughts on using eyeshadow as blush. I don't think I have ever even tried that. I know some people who are project planners are able to go through their eyeshadows quicker because they multitask the products and they use their eyeshadows as blushes or contours or highlighters. I have probably used my eyeshadows as face highlighters, but I don't think that I have used eyeshadow as blush. So I don't even know how it's going to work, but thinking about the difference between blush and between eyeshadow, unless it is a really light color, it's probably going to be so much harder to blend out. I don't know, I'm not really interested in trying that because I do have so many beautiful blushes that I absolutely do love in my collection, and I want to use them instead of my eyeshadows. Then the last question is question number 18. If you could create a perfect blush, what would it look like? This question is surprisingly hard, and I have sometimes been thinking that if I created like my own makeup line or collab with a brand or whatever, what kind of products I would create. And I have been thinking about eyeshadow palette, of course, lip product collection, like lipstick, lip gloss, stuff like that. I have also been thinking about highlighter, but blush is not something I have ever thought about because, to be completely honest, I think the perfect blush has been made already. If I had to say something, I would probably create a blush palette with these 4 shades. So I know it would be so boring to most of people, but I would love it. And I would love to have a really fancy packaging, so something golden color. Something that doesn't get too dirty and full of fingerprints. But yeah, those were all of the questions. This was such a long text, so if you're still around, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comments what is your favorite blush, so I know that you watched till the end. Remember to check out Elle's video. If you want to, feel free to do this tag. I will tag everyone to do this who is into blush. So yeah, that's everything for today. Thank you for watching and see you on my next one. Bye bye.